Okay, so as I anticipated, one video was not enough to get through these questions, but check this out. I found out I'm actually a little bit over halfway, so hopefully we'll be able to knock out the rest of these questions in, you know, another 25 minutes or so. No, actually no, this shouldn't take 25 minutes. But just to be on the safe side, I'm gonna go ahead and set this timer. Okay, that's let's see, give me a minute. Mental math. 20, so that would be 23. Okay, I got it. So yeah, all right, we're set for another 25 minutes, and hopefully it won't take 25 minutes to get through the rest of these questions. Now, where I left off, I was talking about, you know, what is the favorite part about writing totems? And like I said, I think for the most part, it's like I said, it's just the act of writing, the act of producing, of being productive. You know, the whoa shit moment I get when I write something good, and I'm like, oh man, I can't believe I wrote that. But if I had to be more concrete, like if I had to be very specific of like a specific part of the story that I enjoy writing, it's probably the characters. You know, it's because Totems is a story that has a huge cast. Well, not huge cast, but a pretty big cast of characters. And, you know, I conceive these characters, and I know, you know, how they're supposed to look and how they're supposed to think and stuff like that. So when I start fleshing that out on paper, when I actually start to see, and you know, and you get the dialogue going and you get the characters interaction, I think that would probably be my favorite part. When you talk about the story, that would be my favorite part, writing the characters. Because like I said, I love my characters. Okay. Now, next question. I already talked about the cancellation of Young Justice and stuff. I already talked about the Cartoon Network stuff. And I've already talked about what I wanted to do with Totems as far as like getting it out, you know, branching it out and stuff. I already talked about that. Okay, so what do you hope to achieve in the next 5 to 10 years? Well, within the next 5 to 10 years, I would like to be an established writer in the comic book industry. And also, if possible, an established writer in film, although that's going to be a much more difficult task. You know, film doesn't work the same way as comic books. You know, in the comic book industry, I can go ahead, I can write my own comic, I can make my own comic, I can publish my own comic. In film, you know, you have, when you're a screenwriter, you have to get jobs. You know, you have to either sell your original scripts to studios, or you have to get picked up by studios to work on properties that they need scripts for. So it's a lot harder to write for the film industry. But definitely in the comic book industry, within the next 5 to 10 years, I do want to be an established writer. Within five years, I'm hoping ideally Totems will be finished. 5 years from now, Totems will be finished, because Totems will be finished within the next 3 years. By 5 years from now, hopefully I'll be working on my second independent series. Maybe even my third independent series within 5 years. And within 10 years, I do want to be working in the industry. Like I said, you guys remember in the previous video, I mentioned like some of those comic book characters I would like to work for. Yeah, 10 years from now, fucking right. I would like to be working on like a Daredevil book or Green Lantern or something, you know. That's where I would hope to be within 5 or 10 years. Really working in the industry. And I don't want to jinx it by necessarily airing it out to the masses on YouTube. But there is an achievement within the comic book industry that I'm giving myself 9 years. I'm giving myself 9 years to get that. I'm not going to say what it is. Some of the comic book aficionados might be able to know what I'm talking about. I'm not going to say what it is, but there is an achievement that I'm giving myself 9 years to accomplish. Hopefully I can do it. We'll find out. Only time will tell. If you don't make it in the entertainment industry, what do you see yourself doing? That's not an option. There is no quote unquote making it. There is no quote unquote not making it. First and foremost, my definition of making it in the comic book industry is different from most people. Like I said, if I can just make a living doing what I'm doing, fuck. Even if I have to scratch a living doing it, if I can live off of doing comics, I'll be perfectly fine. But hell, it's not even that. I want to use a quote from Dave Chappelle. From his Inside the Actor Studio. Dave Chappelle was talking about this conversation he had with his dad. And his dad told him that it's like, hey son, you want to pursue comedy and whatnot, but you might not necessarily make it in comedy, so you might want to have a backup plan. And Dave Chappelle said, well, it depends on what making it is, Dad. And he says, what do you mean? He says, well, you're a teacher. If I can earn a teacher's salary doing comedy, then I think that's making it. And his dad said, it's like, with that type of attitude, I think you'll be just fine. And the funny thing was, I told that to my own father, I want to say about a year ago, last May, because my dad's a musician. And I told my dad, I was like, if I can make your salary doing comic books, I think that's making it. And he was like, yeah. He was like, yeah, that's not my dad told me, it's like, that's not a bad outlook on everything, It's that wasn't a bad idea. So yeah, but other than that, this whole idea of if I don't make it, I don't even tolerate that notion. I don't even let that notion get in my head. There is no not making it. Failure's not an option. It never has been. I don't come from that shit. So, if there's one thing you want to accomplish more than anything else before your time on Earth is up. And yeah, I've talked about that already too. Like I said, it's to become an influential comic book writer. Pretty much, if my goal, my end all be all, my end all be all before I leave this earth is to inspire the next generation of comic book creators. The same way how I look up to Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Jerry Siegel, Joe Shuster, Bob Kane, Danny O'Neill, Neil Adams, Mark Wolfman, J. Michael Straczynski, who am I forgetting? I'm forgetting somebody. Mike Mignola, Andy Kuhn, Todd McFarlane. Anyway, the same way I look up to all of those creators, one day I want to be on that list. So pretty much what I'm saying is, like, 20 years from now, when there's a young comic book creator who's naming off all of those names I just mentioned, I want to be included on that list. You see what I'm saying? That's pretty much what I want to accomplish more than anything. I want to inspire the next thing. And hell, man, before I even forget, man, Dwayne McDuffie. Dwayne McDuffie was not, granted, I didn't read a lot of his work, but it's like I said, man, especially when you talk about African American comic book creators, Dwayne McDuffie was the standalone for the longest time. He was one of the few. I would argue he was the one African American comic book creator that made it the farthest. He was the one that went the farthest with Milestone Comics, which later got integrated into DC Comics. And ever since he passed away 2 years ago, I felt like that torch has just been sitting there. I felt like I'm not talking about just any comic book creator, but it's so prevalent in the African American community because they aren't those many of us in the industry. So when you look at the few African American creators who are in the comic book industry, I don't feel like anyone's picked up that torch yet. And I feel like that fucking torch is just sitting there waiting for me. You see what I'm saying? And that's what I want to do. I want to pick that motherfucker up and I want to carry that torch for as long as I can before I pass it on to the next guy. So that's what I want to do. What are some cliches that you like, dislike in film? I've talked about that already in my stereotypes video and all that jazz. How do I feel about YouTubers today? I've talked about that already. What do you think of the Hornets changing to the Pelicans? I think it's silly, to be honest. I don't know why they want to change the name, but hey, it's not my bag. Okay, this is an excellent question from Black Doggy Claw. Is OAW Comic open for anyone to get their work out there? Yes. Yes, it is. I have not announced it officially because just because I didn't want to get to the point where OAW Comics got too big too fast, and I didn't want to get to the point where I was dealing with more than I could handle. But I have had people who have contacted me who are interested in publishing with OAW Comics. I told them what I needed from them, and I have yet to hear back from any of them, and it's been like damn near a month since I heard from them. So like I said, pretty much anybody who's watching this video, if you're a young comic book creator, man, if you're looking to get your book out there, man, if you're just looking for a publisher that, you know, like I said, you know, OAW Comics is not Image, it's not Dark Horse, it's not IDW, it's not Viper. We are not a big publishing house. Fuck, we only have one title and we've only published one book. But what I'm saying is, hey, if you're just looking to get your work out there, send it over. Y'all know how to fucking contact me. Y'all know my email address. You can, you know, contact me, oawcomics@gmail.com. If you're interested, let me know. But be warned, I'm looking for people who are serious. You know, I'm not looking for people who, you know, like I said, all these guys hit me up back in January. It's February. I still haven't heard from them. So I'm looking for serious people. I'm not looking for people who are just gonna, you know, piss around. I'm looking for guys who are serious about their own work. Because if you aren't, just like what the big publishers do, I'll cut you. Simple and put, you know. If I'm publishing a book where the team's fucking around and I see they're not serious, I'll drop the book. I'll be like, hey man, we're not publishing you anymore. You know, simple and plain. But hey, if there's any guys, if you're serious, bruh, fuck. If you serious about putting your work out there, I'm serious about doing business. Fuck the bullshit. Let's talk. Get shit done, man. You know. I've noticed there are way too many people in the world that talk the talk and don't walk the walk. We need more walkers, less talkers. Okay. Next question. Are you going to review the second half of season 5 of Breaking Bad? I gotta catch up to Breaking Bad, to be honest with you. I'm so far behind. I gotta catch up. I've already talked about that. What advice would you give a college student who still isn't sure about what they want to get into after they graduate? To be honest, I put it to you like this. When you know, because this is what I always tell my friends, and this is what I always tell people when they try to figure out, you know, what is it that I want to do. I put it to you like this. It's what I call is make a job list. And this is how the job list works. Make a list of all the things you like to do. All the career stuff, you know. Whether or not you have an interest in, you know, architecture, fashion design, film, literature, business, computers, programming, technology, medical, you know, science, engineering, chemistry, whatever your interests are, make a list, right? Draw a line, then make another list. And in that second list, you're going to put, what are you actually good at? You know, are you good with money? Are you good at chemistry? Are you naturally good at science? Do you have an interest in biology? Like, does the human body interest you? I mean, do you actually make good grades when you take those tests? Are you a natural mathematician? Are you good with numbers? Can you remember numbers? Can you do math in your head really well? Are you physically fit? Are you good with your hands? Can you build shit? Have you ever really been good at fixing things? You know, when shit breaks in the house, can you look at something and be like, you know, give me a hammer, a wrench, a couple of screws, I'll have it fixed in 5 minutes. Were you good at those type of things? And that's what you put in the second list. Put what you are actually good at, what you know you're good at. Draw a line. Now in the third list, if there's any one thing that shows up, anything that shows up in both the first and second list, put it in the third list. And that's your career route. Whatever's in the first and second, meaning it's something you're interested in and it's something you're good at, put that in the third list, and that'll be your career route. What's your process in making the script for your series Totems, like a starting point and how much to put into the chapter? Okay, I actually discussed this on my Kickstarter video, what the process is. But pretty much the way it usually goes for an issue, first I outline it based off of what was in the treatment. The treatment is my summary of the entire series. So yes, the entire series is already planned out. And it's planned out in a one-page summary. It's called a treatment. And what I do is, based off of what's in the treatment for each issue, I make an outline, which is pretty much the key events to take place, and then I go in and I write the script based off of that outline. The script then, after it's handwritten, it gets revised when I type it up. It gets sent to my editor. My editor will give me notes, in which case I'll go back and revise again, send it back to him. Once the editor clears it, it goes to my penciler and inker, who does layouts, little thumbnails of what each page will look like. He'll then draw the page and ink them. It'll go to my colorist, who will then color them, do all the technical shit like resolution, page size, template formatting, all that jazz. Then it goes to my letterer. He puts in the word bubbles based off of what's in the script. Then it comes back to me. Bam, done. That's the process. Easy peasy lemons. No, it's not easy. It's not fucking, let me rephrase that. It's not easy at all. It is not fucking easy, but that's how it works. Shit, if it was easy, everybody would do it. Hey Larry, have you been watching the new Ninja Turtles cartoon on Nickelodeon? If so, what are your thoughts on it? No, I haven't been watching it. I saw the pilot. It was okay, but it didn't pique my interest. So, do you think DC Comics should get their own movie studio like Marvel in order for them to make great films just like Marvel Studio does? First and foremost, the fact that Marvel has its own studio the fact that Marvel has its own in-house film studio that is not what's making good movies. The reason why Marvel Studios is making good movies is because they have people working for them that give a shit about the material. Just because a company has its own fucking film studio does not mean that the movies are innately great. That's a misconception and that's a myth. Get that out of your head. What's that boy's name? Kevin Feige, Feige, the guy who's in charge over at Marvel Studios. He's the reason. He is the reason why those movies are good. Because he gives a shit about the material. That's why. But as far as like DC having its own film studio, that won't be no different than what they already have. Remember, DC and Warner Brothers are both owned by the same company. So I don't really think that'll make a difference. Like I said, it's the people there that makes the great films. The people are who make the great films. Most of these questions are repeats, man. Most of these I've already talked about. I think I've already touched on that too, about video gaming. I think I already touched on that. In Rage Fixation, in one of your videos, you stated that you painted something in relation to Hayao Miyazaki. Would it be okay if we see that? If I remember correctly, you said it was near your Game of Thrones poster. Actually, it's not. My Game of Thrones poster is in the living room. My Miyazaki painting is in my bedroom. But hang on a minute. This is my Miyazaki painting. My Hayao Miyazaki portrait, if you all can see it. Yeah. I did this first semester, freshman year. That was fall of 2007. The assignment was to make a portrait, paint a portrait of somebody we admire. Hayao Miyazaki was the first person that came to mind. Yeah. Love his work. Love his work. And will you look at that? I'm running out of battery power, guys. So I'm going to just go ahead and end this video here before that camera cuts off and I lose this second half. So thank you for joining me again this week. Once again, this has been Larry Williams, OAW Commander-in-Chief, reminding you guys, Totems, issue 1, buy it now. And until next time, peace.